What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 103 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about another Superman book, but this one is not going to be the main Superman of the main DC universe. This is going to be an Elseworld story called Superman Kal. This is a very short fantasy story, I guess you could say, with the premise of Superman, last child of a dying planet, dropped into the middle of a fantasy story. And it is by Dave Gibbons and Jose Garcia Lopez. And I hesitate to call this a fantasy story because when you take out Superman, there's really no other fantastical elements here. There's no dragons, there's no wizards, there's no goblins. It's just this guy with superpowers in a world that more or less could be our own world. There's an evil Baron who is played by Lex Luthor. There's a lady in distress who is played by Lois Lane. And then you've got Jimmy Olsen, he's here. A version of the Kents, they're here. But really, this is just a knight in shining armor story. It's not so much a fantasy story, it's just a story that happens to have Superman in the Middle Ages. And I really like this story. I really like the art. I really like the story itself. I'm not really sure how much of this was from Dave Gibbons and how much of this was from Jose Garcia Lopez. I don't know if they co-plotted it or if Gibbons came up with the entire story and then had Lopez draw it, but I really like what's going on here. I like the artwork by Lopez. He is someone that I knew from the late 1980s on the Teen Titans series. He replaced George Perez on the Teen Titans, and I always thought that his art looked very similar to Perez's style on the Teen Titans, but here it looks very different. I'm seeing here that his style is very mutable and can change with the needs of the story, and that is the mark of a really good artist, and I'm really glad to see that his art is not an exact mimic of George Perez like I always thought it was. And of course, if you're going to be a mimic of George Perez, there are worse artists that you could mimic, but I'm glad to see that Lopez is able to do his own thing also, as we can see here. And I also like the writing itself from Dave Gibbons. And really, there's only one big problem that I have with this book, and it's a spoiler for literally the last page, so I don't want to talk about that for fear of spoiling the entire story for you. So if you haven't read this, I won't talk about the spoiler here, and it's not a deal breaker. It's something that kind of bothers me, but it probably wouldn't bother anyone else who's reading this. But I overall really like this story. I would imagine that it would be pretty easy for you to find this. I know that within the last year or two, DC did a big collection of Superman Elseworld stories, and they also did one for Batman and one for Justice League, and they may have done more for those franchises. I don't know if this is collected in the Superman Elseworlds graphic novel, but I don't have that graphic novel, so I'm talking about this one here. But I really enjoyed this, and if you like a good knight in shining armor story, rescuing a damsel in distress, if you like that sort of thing, then I would definitely recommend that you check out Superman Kal. That's about all that I have to say. A little bit of a shorter video today, but since it's a shorter book, I didn't have a whole heck of a lot to say about it. So those are my thoughts on this book. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different kind of video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.